We came to a kind of shallow, natural amphitheatre, and here the four of us halted. Then Moreau sounded the horn. The hooting note rose and rose amidst its echoes, to at last an ear-penetrating intensity. Immediately there was a crashing through the yellow canes, and a sound of voices from the dense green jungle. At 3 or 4 points on the edge of the area appeared the grotesque forms of the beast people hurrying towards us. As soon as they had approached within a distance of perhaps 30 yards, they halted, and bowing on knees and elbows, began flinging the white dust upon their heads. "Say the words," said Moreau. Forthwith, all in the kneeling assembly, swaying from side to side and dashing up the dust with their hands, began once more to chant their strange litany. When they reached, "Not to eat flesh or fish, that is the law," Moreau held up his lank white hand. "Stop!" he cried, and there fell absolute silence upon them all. I think they all knew and dreaded what was coming. "That law has been broken," said Moreau. "None escape," from the faceless creature with the silvery hair. "None escape," repeated the kneeling circle of beast people. "Who is he?" cried Moreau, and looked round at their faces, cracking his whip. I fancied the hyena swine looked dejected. So too did the leopard man. Moreau stopped, facing this creature, who cringed towards him. "Evil is he who breaks the law," chanted the sayer of the law. Moreau looked into the eyes of the leopard man, and seemed to be dragging the very soul out of the creature. "Who breaks the law," said Moreau, turning towards us, "goes back to the house of pain," they all clamoured. "Back to the house of pain, O master!" "Do you hear?" said Moreau, turning back to the criminal. Suddenly, the leopard man leapt towards his tormentor. I saw Moreau reeling back from the blow. The furious face of the leopard man flashed by mine, with Meling close in pursuit. I heard the crack of Moreau's pistol. The whole crowd seemed to swing round in the direction of the glint of fire. In another second, I was running, one of a tumultuous, shouting crowd, in pursuit of the escaping leopard man. The chase plunged into a dense thicket. "None escape," said the wolf-bear, laughing into my face with the exultation of hunting. We burst out again among rocks, and saw the quarry ahead, running lightly on all fours, and snarling at us over his shoulder. At that, the wolf-folk howled with delight. The hyena swine ran close to me, watching me as it ran, every now and then puckering its muzzle with a snarling laugh. At last, we had the wretched brute pinned into a corner of the island. Moreau, whip in hand, marshalled us all into an irregular line, and we advanced now, slowly, tightening the cordon about our victim. "Steady!" cried Moreau. "Steady!" as the ends of the line crept round the tangle of undergrowth. "Back to the house of pain, the house of pain, the house of pain," yelped the voice of the ape-man. Then, suddenly, through a polygon of green, in the half-darkness under the luxuriant growth, I saw the creature we were hunting. He was crouched together into the smallest possible compass, his luminous green eyes regarding me. It may seem a strange contradiction, but seeing the creature there in a perfectly animal attitude, with the light gleaming in its eyes and its face distorted with terror, I realized again the fact of its humanity. In another moment it would be overpowered and captured, to experience once more the horrible tortures of the enclosure. Abruptly, I slipped out my revolver, aimed between its terror-struck eyes, and fired. All about me the green masses of the thicket were swaying and cracking as the beast people came rushing together. One face, then another, appeared. "Don't kill it!" cried Moreau. In another moment he had beaten off the hyena swine with the handle of his whip, and he and Montgomery were keeping away the excited carnivorous beast people, and particularly Meling, from the still quivering body. "Confound you, Prendick," said Moreau. "I wanted him." "I'm sorry," said I, though I was not. Turning, I pushed my way out of the crowding beast people, and went on alone, up the slope, towards the higher part of the headland. Under the shouted directions of Moreau, I heard the 3 white-swathed bullmen begin dragging the victim down towards the water. The beast people were all still intensely excited, and all overflowing with noisy expressions of their loyalty to the law. A strange persuasion came upon me, that, save for the grossness of the line, the grotesqueness of the forms, I had here before me the whole balance of human life in miniature, the whole interplay of instinct, reason, and fate in its simplest form. The leopard man had happened to go under. That was all the difference. I began to see the viler aspect of Moreau's cruelty. Before, they had been beasts, their instincts fitly adapted to their surroundings, and happy as living things may be. Now, they stumbled in the shackles of humanity, living in a fear that never died, fretted by a law they could not understand. Their mock-human existence, begun in agony, was one long internal struggle, one long dread of Moreau. And for what? Six weeks passed. Having breakfasted early, I stood by the open gateway, smoking a cigarette, and enjoying the freshness of the early morning. Moreau presently came round the corner of the enclosure and greeted me. He passed by, and I heard him behind me unlock and enter his laboratory. Then, suddenly, something happened. I heard a sharp cry, a fall, and turning, saw an awful face rushing upon me, hellish, brown, seamed with red branching scars, red drops starting out upon it, and the lidless eyes ablaze. I threw up my arm to defend myself from the blow that flung me headlong with a broken forearm, and the great monster, swathed in lint and with red-stained bandages fluttering about it, leapt over me and passed. Then Moreau appeared, revolver in hand. He scarcely glanced at me, but rushed off at once in pursuit of the puma. She turned her head and saw him, then doubling abruptly, made for the bushes. Moreau fired, and missed. Then he too vanished in the green confusion. Montgomery appeared in the doorway. I told him what I had seen, told him in broken sentences, with gasps of pain between them, and very dexterously and swiftly he bound my arm meanwhile. Then he went out, and locked the gates of the enclosure. He was absent some time. The first dull feeling of injury in my arm had already given way to a burning pain, when, from far away behind the enclosure, I heard a pistol shot. A long silence, and then came another. Then a yelling cry nearer, and another dismal gap of silence. I went to the corner, startled, and saw Montgomery. His face scarlet, his hair disordered, and the knee of his trousers torn. Behind him slouched Mule. "Has he come?" said Montgomery. "Moreau," said I. "No." "My God!" The man was panting, almost sobbing. "Go back in," he said, taking my arm. "They're mad! They're all rushing about mad! Where's some brandy?" It seems Montgomery had followed their track for some way, but lost sight of it on the stony ground beyond the stream. Mule had come to him, and they went on to the huts, but found the ravine deserted. Growing more alarmed every minute, Montgomery began to retrace his steps. Then it was he encountered the 2 swine-men I had seen dancing on the night of my arrival. Blood-stained they were about the mouth. They came crashing through the ferns, and stopped with fierce faces when they saw him. He cracked his whip in some trepidation, and forthwith they rushed at him. Never before had a beast-man dared to do that. One he shot through the head. Mule flung himself upon the other, and the 2 rolled, grappling. Montgomery shot that too as it struggled in Mule's grip. Thence they had hurried back to me. "What does it all mean?" said I. He shook his head, and turned once more to the brandy. "It is possibly due to the tension of my mind at the time," But even now, that start into the hot stillness of the tropical afternoon is a singularly vivid impression. Presently Maling stopped, and became rigid with watchfulness. Montgomery almost staggered into him, and then stopped too. Listening intently, we heard coming through the trees the sound of voices, and footsteps approaching us. "He is dead," said a deep, vibrating voice. "He is not dead! He is not dead!" jabbered another. We saw!" said several voices. "Hello!" suddenly shouted Montgomery. "Hello, there!" Half a dozen faces appeared among